everyone, I am Dr. Sindhu. Can an MSW graduate from India work in the USA and UK? Do you really need licensing exams? And which specialization has the highest demand in abroad? In this three-part series, we will uncover the real opportunities available in abroad for three specializations: medical and psychiatric social work, community development, and human resource management. In part 1, we are discussing medical and psychiatric social work, one of the most in-demand social work fields globally. Let's separate myths from reality and understand the exact pathway to an international social work career. Welcome to Learn with Dr. Sindhu. Not all social work roles abroad are the same. In countries like the USA, UK, and Australia, social workers are an essential part of the healthcare system. They are not optional support staff, they are part of the clinical and care team. In US hospitals, medical social workers are involved in patient support, discharge planning, chronic illness counseling, rehabilitation support, and coordination between hospital and community services. In psychiatric settings in US, social workers work with mental health teams supporting patients with depression, anxiety disorders, schizophrenia, substance use disorders, trauma cases, and crisis situations. In the UK, under the NHS system, social workers are actively involved in community mental health teams, child protection services, elderly care, and hospital discharge planning. In Australia, they are widely involved in disability support services under NDIS, mental health rehabilitation, and hospital-based care coordination. So overall, the scope is strong, structured, and globally recognized. Now let's understand what exactly you will be doing in these roles. As a medical social worker, your work will include helping patients and families cope with medical conditions, providing emotional support during critical illness, and assisting in discharge planning so patients can transition safely from hospital to home or rehabilitation centers. In psychiatric social work, your role becomes even more clinical and sensitive. You may work with patients dealing with depression, schizophrenia, substance abuse, trauma, or suicide risk. You also support family counseling, crisis intervention, and long-term rehabilitation planning. Most importantly, you are a part of a multidisciplinary team working along with doctors, nurses, psychiatrists, and therapists. So this is not just a support job, it is a structured clinical and psychosocial role. Now let's understand the most important part, licensing and certification system in US and UK. Each country has a different process. There is no single global systems. In the United States, social work is a licensed profession. The licensing process is state-based, meaning each US state has its own licensing board. You must complete the licensing process through the Association of Social Work Board known as ASWB. First state licensure, a license to practice social work in your state, such as an LSW, licensed social worker, or LMSW for entry-level work. Second, clinical license. An LCSW, clinical social worker, is mandatory for independent, unsupervised psychiatric and advanced clinical roles. In addition to licensing, candidates usually need an English proficiency test such as IELTS, International English Language Testing System, or TOEFL, test of English is as a foreign language, depending on requirements. Then, most candidates complete credential evaluation, eligibility approval, and then proceed to licensing requirements. The ASWB exam is typically taken through authorized international test centers or in the US, depending on eligibility of the state regulations. To applying for licensing to any state board, you must have some documents and requirements needed. First one, your Indian bachelor's or master's in social work, BSW or MSW matches US standard. This must be evaluated through the Council on Social Work Education. Then second one, official academic transcripts must be sent directly from your Indian university to the CSWE. Third, proof of graduation letter, an official statement on university letterhead signed by the department head confirming your graduation date and degree completion. Fourth, detailed course syllabus descriptions. A comprehensive outline of every social work subject you took, including course topics and learning outcomes. Fifth one, fieldwork or internship verification. Official proof from your university confirming you completed the required fieldwork hours. The CSW typically looks for at least 900 hours of field placement. Sixth one, certified English translations. If any of your academic documents are in Hindi or a regional Indian language, you must include word for word certified translations alongside the originals. Then clinical experience or employment experience. 2,000 to 4,000 hours of post-degree supervised clinical experience is must to obtain your LCSW. This means you should have work experience. After that, the state licensing board decides whether you are eligible to proceed further. In some cases, candidates may also be required to complete additional supervised clinical experience or work in the United States before becoming eligible for full licensed clinical social worker. Next, UK. In UK, there is no single national licensing exam for social workers. Instead, candidates must apply for registration from Social Work England, which is the regulatory body. Your MSW degree must be assessed for equivalency open through UK ENIC, United Kingdom National Recognition Information Centre. The submission of documents for registration is very important. Official transcripts and degree certificates, clear color copies of your graduation certificate, PSW or MSW, and semester by semester mark sheets. Next, experience certificates from current and previous employers. Third, fieldwork placement verification, a letter from your university registrar confirming you completed practical placements. The UK required proof at least 200 days, minimum 7 hours per day of supervised practice. You must provide details of your professional regulatory body or membership. These document submissions are very important for registration. In addition, English proficiency is mandatory, usually through IELTS academics. Once approved, you are registered to work in the UK healthcare or social care system, including NHS roles. Now, let's understand the correct step-by-step pathway. First, complete your MSW degree in India, preferably with specializations in medical and psychiatric social work. Second, gain practical experience in hospitals, psychiatric centers, rehabilitation centers, or mental health institutions or NGOs. Third, clear English proficiency tests like IELTS, TOEFL, depending on the country. Fourth, go through the country-specific process, ASWB licensing in the USA, Social Work England registration in the UK. Once approved, you can apply for jobs in hospitals, mental health services, rehabilitation centers, and government healthcare systems. Finally, if selected, you proceed with visa processing such as skilled worker visa in the UK, employer-sponsored visa in the USA. So the journey is structured: education, experience, English test, licensing or registration, job application, and visa. Now let's talk about mistakes students often make. The first mistake is assuming that MSW alone is sufficient to work abroad. It is not. The second mistake is ignoring English proficiency tests and licensing for registration requirements. The third mistake is not gaining enough hospital or clinical experience, which is highly valued internationally. Keeping proper documents in the registration time. Understanding these early can save a lot of time and effort. Finally, I want to say this. A career in medical and psychiatric social work abroad is absolutely possible. But it requires patience, preparations, and planning. It is not just about getting a degree. It is about building skills, gaining experience, and meeting international professional standards. If you follow the correct pathway, you are not just getting a job abroad, you are entering a globally respected healthcare profession where your work directly impacts human lives. I hope this video has given you a clarity and confidence about pursuing a social work career abroad. If you know someone who is confused and licensing eligibility or international opportunities, please share this video with them and stay tuned because in the next part of the series, we will be discussing community development and human resource management opportunities abroad in detail. Comment below which country you are interested in working in and I will try to cover it in future videos. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and I will see you in the next video on Learn with Dr. Sindhu.